Have you ever realized that sometimes the loudest statement you can make is complete silence? No explanations, no arguments, no desperate attempts to be understood, just you quietly walking away. Most people think silence is weakness. They believe you have to fight to shout to prove yourself. But the Stoics revealed a deeper truth. Silence is strength. When you walk away without a word, you don't lose you because in that moment, you refuse to play their game. You refuse to give them the fuel they need, your reaction. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." When you leave quietly, you send a message far more powerful than words. I am free, I am untouchable. I no longer belong to your chaos. And this is exactly why their world falls apart. They depended on your attention, your energy, your willingness to explain, but silence gives them nothing. No closure, no control, no victory. The paradox is this: the quieter you leave, the louder your absence echoes. They will feel the weight of your silence more than they ever felt the weight of your words. And in that silence, you reclaim your peace, your self-worth, and your freedom. This is not weakness. This is Stoic power. When most people imagine power, they think of volume, raised voices, fierce arguments, dramatic ultimatums. Society teaches us that strength is shown by how loudly you can demand respect or how forcefully you can make your point. But here's the paradox. The deepest, most unsettling form of power doesn't come from noise at all. It comes from silence. Silence is not the absence of strength. It is the proof of it. To remain quiet in the face of chaos requires a discipline most will never master. Anyone can lash out. Anyone can argue. Anyone can let their emotions control their tongue. But to stand still, to withhold reaction, and to walk away without a single word, that requires mastery of the self. And mastery of the self is the foundation of Stoic philosophy. The people who tried to manipulate you, control you, or break. You never expected this kind of power. They prepared for your anger because anger is predictable. They prepared for your tears because tears can be exploited. They prepared for your explanations because explanations keep you chained to them. But silence, they never saw it coming. And that's exactly why it shakes them to the core. Think of silence like a mirror. When you refuse to respond, you are no longer feeding them your energy. Instead, you force them to look at themselves, and that is the one thing they fear most. They cannot project their flaws onto you. They cannot twist your words. They cannot drag you into their endless cycle of conflict in your silence. They are left alone with the truth. They've been running from their own emptiness. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Walking away quietly is the living embodiment of this wisdom. You stop trying to change what cannot be changed them, and instead you protect what can always be guarded. Your mind, your peace, your dignity. But here's what makes silence so devastating to those who wanted control. It strips away the illusion of importance. When you walk away without a word, you show them they are not worth an explanation. They are not worth your time. They are not worth your voice. To a fragile ego, that realization is unbearable. Their entire sense of power was built on the belief that they mattered enough to make you react. When you deny them even that, their world begins to crumble. Psychologists call this narcissistic injury, the collapse that happens when someone who thrives on control and validation suddenly faces rejection. But the Stoics would simply call it truth. You are not here to be someone's emotional puppet. You are here to live in accordance with reason and virtue. Walking away quietly is not just an escape from toxicity. It is a return to alignment with yourself. And notice the shift when you remain silent. The battlefield changes before they dictated the rules provoke you. Watch you break and then claim victory. But when you no longer engage, you remove the battlefield entirely. They are left swinging at shadows, fighting with echoes. While you move forward untouched, silence rewrites the script. It reminds them that you are not a character in their story. You are the author of your own. This is the power they never expected. The power that doesn't announce itself, but reveals itself in the absence of noise. Silence unsettles because it cannot be controlled. It cannot be twisted. It cannot be defeated. And while they wrestle with confusion, anger, and desperation, you walk away with clarity, peace, and strength. The truth is simple. Silence is not passive. It is not weakness. It is not avoidance. Silence is an active declaration of power, a boundary so strong it requires no explanation. It is the final word that doesn't need to be spoken. And when you understand this, you begin to see what the Stoics already knew. Your calm is your weapon, your silence is your shield, and your ability to walk away quietly is the most devastating force they will ever face. Every manipulator, every toxic person, every narcissist has one thing in common. They thrive on control. And the frightening part is this: their control doesn't come from physical chains or obvious domination. It comes from something far more subtle: your attachment. As long as you are emotionally tied to them, they own a piece of you. If they can make you angry, they know they still matter. If they can make you explain yourself, they know they still have influence. If they can make you feel guilty, they know they still live in your mind. That is why detachment, true disciplined detachment, is the most dangerous weapon you can use, because when you detach, their control collapses. The Stoics taught us that external things, money, status, relationships, even other people's opinions, are not truly ours. Epictetus reminded us wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. This applies not only to possessions, but also to people. The more you need someone to validate you, the easier you are to control. But the moment you no longer depend on their approval, you slip through their fingers like smoke. Detachment is not coldness. It is clarity. It is the recognition that your emotions, your peace, your worth cannot be handed over to another person. And when you finally see that, their manipulation loses all its power. Think of how toxic dynamics operate. They provoke you. You react. They guilt trip you. You defend. They withhold affection. You chase. Every move depends on your attachment to their approval. But when you stop needing them, when you detach emotionally, every one of their strategies fails. They can shout, lie, threaten, or play the victim. But if you no longer seek their validation, their weapons are useless. Psychologists call this breaking the trauma bond, that invisible rope that ties you to someone who has hurt you. Stoicism called it mastery of the passions, the ability to step back and see things as they are, not as your emotions want them to be. And here is the truth. Once the rope is cut, they cannot pull you anymore. You are free. And freedom is terrifying to those who built their identity on controlling you. Imagine the shock they feel when their insults no longer wound you, when their silence no longer unsettles you, when their love bombing no longer seduces you. They realize slowly and painfully that they no longer own you. And without control over you, their power shrinks into nothing. Detachment also protects you from the illusion of change. Toxic people often promise transformation. I'll do better. I'll change. Just give me another chance. But the Stoic mindset sees beyond words. You no longer cling to hope. You watch for actions. And when the actions remain the same, you quietly detach instead of falling back into the same trap. This is not bitterness, it is wisdom. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. Detachment is the living proof of that wisdom. You stop trying to control them and you start controlling yourself. That shift changes everything. And here's the irony. The more detached you are, the more desperate they become. They may try harder to provoke you, to win you back, to prove they still matter. But their efforts only reveal the truth. The game was never about love. It was always about control. And now that control is broken. To detach is not to stop caring about life. It is to stop giving unearned power to those who misuse your heart. It is to stand firm in your boundaries, knowing that your peace is worth more than their approval. And in that stillness, you become unshakable. This is why detachment is liberation. Not only does it free you, it imprisons them in their own emptiness. Because once they can no longer control you, they are left to wrestle with themselves, and that is a battle they cannot win. When you walk away in silence, something strange happens. It's not just the relationship that ends. It's not just the arguments that stop. It's their very identity that begins to crack. Why? Because toxic people, Whether narcissists, manipulators, or energy leeches, often build their sense of self around control. They survive by feeding on the emotions of others. Every reaction you gave them, the anger, the tears, the explanations became proof that they existed, proof that they mattered, proof that they had power without realizing it. You were the mirror in which they saw themselves. But when you walk away quietly, that mirror shatters. They can no longer see their reflection in your pain. They can no longer measure their worth by your attention. And suddenly, they're left facing something they've avoided their entire lives, their own emptiness. The Stoics taught us that identity should be rooted in virtue, not in external validation. Seneca reminded us, "He who is brave is free, but a toxic person is never free." They are chained to the need for constant recognition, constant control, constant dominance. When you detach and disappear, those chains tighten and they begin to suffocate inside the very identity they built. Think of it like this: for years, they might have played the role of the superior one, the one in charge, the one who dictates how you feel. But the moment you leave without a word, you flip the script. Their superiority evaporates. Their importance collapses. They no longer have an audience for their performance. And a performer without an audience is nothing. This is why silence is so devastating. Words give them something to fight against. Explanations give them something to twist. But silence gives them nothing. And in that nothingness, they begin to unravel. Psychologists describe this as an identity crisis. When a narcissist loses their supply, the person who reflected back their sense of importance, they don't just feel lonely, they feel like they are disappearing. Their grand image of themselves cracks under the weight of reality. And instead of facing the truth, they panic. But here's the deeper truth. The Stoics understood no one should ever build their identity on something outside of themselves. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Toxic people waste their lives chasing control over others instead of control over themselves. And when you remove yourself from their reach, the hollowness of their life becomes undeniable. Their identity begins to crumble in three painful ways. One, loss of power. They realize they cannot make you feel what they want anymore. That loss cuts directly at their sense of superiority. Two, loss of relevance. Without your attention, they are irrelevant. Your silence exposes just how small their influence really was. Three, loss of self. Without someone to control, they no longer know who they are. They are forced to face their own fragility, and most cannot handle it. And here is the paradox. While their identity collapses, yours begins to rebuild. Because walking away quietly is not just about breaking free from them, it is about reclaiming yourself. You rediscover your worth apart from their approval. You begin to see that your peace is not dependent on anyone else. In leaving silently, you tear down the false identity they created. But you also begin to construct the true identity you were always meant to live. This is why walking away feels so heavy at first, but so liberating later. At first, you grieve the bond, but soon you realize it was never a bond. It was a prison. And once the prison door closes behind you, you see clearly that their identity was always built on illusions. While yours can finally be built on truth, silence is not just the end of their control. It is the beginning of their collapse. And as their world crumbles, you begin to rise. Not with noise, not with revenge, but with the quiet strength of someone who no longer needs to be chained. When you walk away quietly, something begins to move in the background. A force that doesn't shout, doesn't announce itself, and doesn't need your help. It is the silence of karma, and that silence can be far more brutal than anything you could ever say or do. You see, toxic people expect confrontation. They expect a fight. They even expect forgiveness they don't deserve. But they never expect the silence of consequences. And that is exactly what karma delivers. Karma is not some dramatic lightning bolt from the sky. It is the slow erosion of their own soul when they are forced to live with the reality of who they are. They hurt you, lied to you, betrayed your trust. And when you leave in silence, they are left to face the echo of their own actions. No one is there to absorb their cruelty anymore. No one is there to carry their burden. They are left with themselves, and that silence is deafening. The Stoics might not have used the word karma, but they understood the principle deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You live a good life. If there are gods and they are just, they will not care how devout you have been, but welcome you because of the virtues you have lived by." In other words, virtue creates its own reward and vice creates its own punishment. The harm they inflicted on you eventually circles back, not because you wished it, but because nature itself demands balance. And here's the irony. The quieter you leave, the louder karma becomes. Your silence removes their favorite weapon, distraction. When you no longer argue with them, they cannot blame you. When you no longer explain yourself, they cannot twist your words. When you no longer stay, they cannot use you to hide from themselves in silence. The mirror is turned and karma forces them to stare into it. At first, they may pretend they don't care. They may act unaffected, posturing as if your absence means nothing. But the cracks begin to show. Nights become restless. Their mind replays the way you left without a word. The closure they thought they controlled is gone. And slowly regret begins to gnaw at them. Not because they suddenly love you, but because karma has a way of exposing the truth. They lost someone they could never replace. Psychologists call this delayed consequence. People who cause harm often avoid accountability in the moment because they can distract themselves with denial, manipulation, or new victims. But silence breaks that cycle with no one left to manipulate. Their mind becomes their punishment. Every quiet hour, every empty space, every unanswered thought is a reminder of what they destroyed. And this is the power of karma. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to fight, scream, or seek revenge. Your only responsibility is to protect your peace and let the universe, or nature, as the Stoics described it, handle the rest. By choosing silence, you've already shifted the balance. Epictetus said, "It is not events that disturb people. It is their judgments about them." This is exactly how karma works. The event is your quiet departure. Their judgment is what destroys them. They cannot accept that you had the strength to leave. They cannot accept that you didn't need them. They cannot accept that your silence carries more weight than their noise ever did, and so they suffer. Meanwhile, your silence becomes your protection by not engaging. You stay free of their chaos. You are not poisoned by their endless games. You are not trapped in the cycle of attack and defense. You rise above, and your life begins to rebuild on stronger foundations. Karma's silence is unexpected because it doesn't come with drama. It doesn't make headlines. It doesn't need witnesses, but it is relentless. And in time, it dismantles everything false they tried to build. While they wrestle with the consequences of their actions, you are already walking forward lighter, freer, and untouchable. So remember this, walking away quietly is not just a personal choice. It is an act that awakens a larger force. And in that silence, karma speaks louder than you ever could. Most people think that the way to make someone feel your pain is to shout it, to confront them, to explain in detail how deeply they've wronged you. But the truth is this, nothing cuts deeper than silence. Nothing wounds more than simply walking away. Words can be debated, they can be twisted, denied, or ignored. A toxic person will always find a way to argue back, to deflect blame, to turn your explanation into ammunition against you. But when you leave quietly, there is nothing for them to manipulate, no argument to fight against, no closure to hold on to. Just a void they cannot fill, no matter how desperately they try. And that void is torture. Why? Because toxic people live for reactions. Your anger proved they still mattered. Your sadness fed their ego. Even your explanations gave them attention. But walking away in silence strips them of the one thing. They cannot live without control over your emotions. Suddenly, they are faced with a terrifying reality. Your world continues without them while theirs begins to crumble without you. The Stoics understood this kind of quiet strength. Epictetus taught, any person capable of angering you becomes your master by leaving without a word. You prove that no one can master you anymore. You refuse to let them dictate your inner state. Your silence says you are not worth my energy. You no longer own a single piece of me. That truth is sharper than any insult you could hurl. Think of it this way. If you scream at them, they feel important. If you cry over them, they feel powerful. But if you disappear in silence, they feel nothing but small. Your absence becomes the loudest statement of all. Psychologists call this the power of withholding response. Humans are wired to crave feedback, especially when they've provoked someone. When no feedback comes, the brain panics. The manipulator expects chaos but receives calm. They expect anger but receive silence. They expect drama but receive peace. That mismatch drives them into confusion, frustration, and eventually despair. Here's the paradox. Your silence does not just protect you, it punishes them. Not because you wanted revenge, but because their own mind becomes the punishment. They replay the last moment, searching for words that never came. They wonder why you didn't fight, why you didn't explain, why you didn't beg. They crave answers, but your silence leaves them with questions that have no resolution. And this is why walking away hurts more than words, because silence cannot be argued with. It cannot be undone. It lingers like a ghost in their mind, haunting them long after you are gone. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best answer to anger is silence." What he meant was simple silence disarms. It denies fuel to the fire. It leaves the aggressor to burn in their own flames. And when you walk away quietly, you embody this wisdom in its purest form. But walking away in silence does something even greater for you. It restores your dignity. Instead of lowering yourself to their level, you rise above. Instead of wasting words on someone who will never hear them, you save your energy for building the life they can no longer touch. That act of restraint is not weakness. It is strength in its highest form. Remember, these words can be forgotten, twisted, or dismissed. But silence cannot be erased. It echoes. It lingers. It forces the other person to sit in the reality of your absence. And that, more than anything you could ever say, is what makes their world fall apart. There is a moment of truth in every toxic relationship, every manipulative bond, every situation where your soul feels suffocated. That moment is when you realize you don't need their permission to leave. You don't need their apology. You don't even need their understanding. You own your exit. The Stoics knew this centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." In other words, your life, your choices, your peace are not up for negotiation. If something violates your values, if someone violates your dignity, you have not only the right but the responsibility to walk away, quietly, firmly, without explanation. And here's the liberating truth. The exit belongs to you alone. For too long, toxic people make you believe they control the terms of the relationship. They decide when the fight ends. They decide when the forgiveness begins. They decide when the cycle restarts. But Stoicism flips that illusion. The only true power they have is the power you give them. And the moment you withdraw it, their control vanishes like smoke. Owning your exit means you stop waiting for closure that will never come. It means you stop justifying why you're leaving. It means you no longer let guilt or fear chain you to people who never intended to value you. When you walk away, not because they pushed you, not because they begged you, but because you chose peace, that is self-mastery. Think of a general on a battlefield. A fool stays and fights until they are destroyed, just to prove a point. A wise leader knows when to retreat, not as surrender, but as strategy in life. Your quiet exit is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is the recognition that your energy is too precious to waste on battles that cannot be won. Epictetus, who once lived as a slave and yet became one of the greatest Stoic teachers, taught no man is free who is not master of himself. Mastery of self means you decide when the story ends. Not them, not the situation, not the circumstances. You. And notice the shift that happens the moment you own your exit. The power dynamic collapses. They can no longer bait you into staying. They can no longer use guilt to hold you hostage. They can no longer dictate how long the cycle continues. The key to the cage was always in your hand. And now you've finally used it. Psychologists confirm this principle too. They call it autonomy, the ability to choose your actions based on your values, not on external pressure. When you act from autonomy, you step out of codependency, trauma bonds, and emotional manipulation. You are no longer reacting to them. You are acting from within yourself. That is where true freedom begins. But owning your exit also requires courage. Walking away quietly means resisting the urge to explain yourself. It means silencing the voice that says, "What if they change? What if I owe them an explanation?" No, you owe them nothing. You owe yourself everything. Your peace is worth more than their approval. Your dignity is worth more than their excuses. And here's the paradox. The more firmly you own your exit, the more shaken they become. They expected noise. They expected drama. They expected one last fight. Instead, they are left with silence and finality. The door closed not because they slammed it, but because you did, and they cannot reopen it, because it was never theirs to control. The Stoics would call this an act of alignment, living in harmony with your principles. Walking away quietly on your terms means you have chosen virtue over clarity over confusion, and freedom over slavery. That is not just an exit, that is a rebirth. So remember this, you don't need their permission. You don't need their blessing. You don't need their understanding. The moment you decide to leave with silence and dignity, you reclaim the most powerful truth of all your life belongs to you. And that is the kind of exit no one can take away. When you walk away in silence, something begins to grow inside the one who hurt you. At first, they may act unaffected. They may laugh, pretend to move on, or even boast that your absence means nothing. But behind that mask, a slow and relentless force begins to build regret. And that regret soon becomes their prison. Why does regret torment them so deeply? Because regret is not about what happened. It is about what could have been when you were present. They had the chance to change, to value you, to treat you with respect. They didn't. And now the opportunity is gone. Your quiet departure locks the door, and their mind becomes a chamber where they replay every mistake, every moment they dismissed, every chance they squandered. The Stoics often warned about time as the most precious resource. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Toxic people waste time not only in their own lives, but in yours, playing games, feeding their ego, and ignoring the gift of your presence. When you finally walk away, they are forced to confront the truth. Time with you has expired, and nothing they do can buy it back. This is the cruelty of regret. It doesn't strike immediately, it creeps in quietly. When the noise has faded, when distractions have run out, when they are left alone with their thoughts. At first they may blame you, but blame cannot silence the gnawing realization that they had someone loyal, patient, and valuable, and they destroyed it. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, the painful clash between what they want to believe and what reality reveals. They want to see themselves as powerful, but your silence contradicts that illusion. You were supposed to chase them, to explain yourself, to beg for closure. Instead, you vanished, and now the dissonance grows unbearable. Their ego tells them they're in control. Reality tells them they've lost everything. This is why regret becomes their prison. Every time they remember you, the chains tighten. Every attempt to escape only deepens the torment. They may try to replace you with someone else, but the new face cannot erase the silence you left behind. They may try to numb themselves with distractions, but the quiet hours always return. They may try to convince others they don't care, but in their private thoughts, they know the truth. They let the best things slip away. The Stoics would call this natural justice, the order of the universe, restoring balance. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The wrongdoer does wrong to himself. The unjust man is unjust to himself, making himself evil." When they wronged you, they planted the seed of their own punishment. And when you left, that seed sprouted into regret, not because you cursed them, but because nature itself does not allow such injustice to go unanswered. Meanwhile, you are free. Your silence liberated you from their cycle, but they remain trapped, not by your actions, but by their own choices. Their regret becomes the cage, and their mind becomes the jailer. Every memory of you is a reminder of what they lost. Every thought of you is proof that their control is gone. Here is the paradox. The more you move on, the heavier their prison becomes. They watch your life grow in peace, while theirs decays in unrest. They see you thrive without them, and it magnifies their failure. Your absence, once underestimated, now haunts them daily. And this is the silent justice of Stoicism. You do not have to shout, threaten, or seek revenge. You only need to live well, because nothing torments a guilty soul more than seeing the one they tried to break rise above them in silence. Their regret is not your burden to carry. It is their punishment to endure. And in that prison of the mind, they will serve a sentence longer and harsher than anything you could ever design when you walk away quietly. It doesn't just dismantle their illusion of power. It rebuilds you from the inside out. Because walking away is never just about leaving someone behind. It is about returning to yourself. For too long, toxic people condition you to live in reaction. You become accustomed to explaining, defending, doubting, and second-guessing yourself. Every word you speak, every move you make is filtered through the fear of how they will respond without realizing it. Your identity begins to shrink. You stop living for yourself and start existing as a reflection of their moods. But silence breaks that cycle. When you leave quietly, you stop feeding energy into their chaos and you redirect it back to your own life. What once drained you now begins to heal you, and in that healing, a new version of you begins to emerge. The Stoics understood this process well. Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Walking away quietly is the first step in declaring who you will become. Someone no longer defined by manipulation, but by clarity and discipline. It is the conscious choice to step out of the storm and stand in the calm of your own mind. Psychologists call this reclaiming your agency, the power to act from your own values. Instead of being trapped in reaction every day, you remain silent and detached. You reinforce the truth, my life belongs to me. This shift is not just emotional, it is transformational. Here is how walking away rebuilds you. 1. Clarity returns. Without their noise clouding your judgment, you begin to see life clearly again. What once felt confusing becomes simple. Your peace is priceless, and anything that costs it is too expensive. 2. Boundaries strengthen. By walking away, you send a message to yourself. I will never tolerate this again. This is how psychological boundaries are forged, not in theory but in action. 3. Self-worth rises. Every quiet step you take away from them reinforces your value. You are no longer begging to be chosen. You are choosing yourself. 4. Peace expands. Instead of constant conflict, you begin to experience the stillness of life without manipulation. And in that stillness, your creativity, focus, and joy return. 5. Resilience grows. Each day apart builds your strength. The same silence that punished them now protects you. What once felt like emptiness becomes freedom. And here is the beauty of Stoic discipline. You don't rebuild in bitterness, you rebuild in peace. Walking away is not about proving them wrong, it is about proving yourself right. It is not about revenge, it is about renewal. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury by choosing silence and growth. You rise above, refusing to become like those who tried to break you. As you rebuild, you begin to notice something profound. The absence you thought would hurt you is actually what heals you. The quiet moments that once felt unbearable now become the soil where your strength takes root. You rediscover passions you had forgotten. You form connections that are genuine, not manipulative. You begin to live again, not as a shadow of who you were, but as the person you were always meant to be. And while they remain trapped in the prison of regret, you step into the freedom of renewal. Your silence, once seen as weakness, becomes the foundation of your new life. The irony is unmistakable. The very act that destroyed their illusion is the same act that rebuilds your reality. So remember this, walking away quietly is not just an ending, it is a beginning. It is the doorway to a life where your peace, your dignity, and your self-worth are no longer negotiable. And with every step you take forward, you prove the timeless Stoic truth that your power has never been in their hands. It has always been in yours. Revenge. The very word often stirs images of confrontation, harsh words, and dramatic victories. But the Stoics knew something that most of the world has forgotten. The most devastating form of revenge is not loud, not violent, not even visible. The most devastating revenge is silence living well rising higher and becoming untouchable. Seneca once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." This wisdom strikes at the core of Stoic philosophy. When you walk away quietly, you are already enacting the purest form of justice. Because instead of wasting your energy on destroying them, you use it to build yourself. Instead of mirroring their cruelty, you mirror virtue. And nothing unsettles those who tried to control you more than seeing you flourish without them. Why is quiet revenge so powerful? Because it denies them what they wanted most, your continued participation in their game. Toxic people feed on drama. They thrive on reaction. They expect you to scream, to fight, to prove. But when you refuse to play, you don't just break free, you rob them of the stage itself. They are left shouting into the void while you rise in silence. This is where karma and Stoicism intersect. Karma ensures that their actions return to haunt them. Stoicism ensures that you do not sink to their level. By living in alignment with virtue, discipline, self-respect, and inner peace, you turn their cruelty into your catalyst. You transform their betrayal into the fuel for your strength. And as you grow, the contrast becomes unbearable for them. Psychologists describe this as narrative collapse. Manipulators always see themselves as the hero of the story. They expect you to remain the broken character who never escapes their plot. But when you walk away and rebuild your life, their narrative collapses. You are no longer their victim. You are proof that they failed. And in their failure, your quiet revenge is complete. But the Stoics remind us revenge is not about destruction. It is about liberation. It is about removing the chains of resentment so you can live fully. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best way of avenging yourself is not to become like the wrongdoer. To cling to anger is to remain bound to them. To rise above anger is to be free." And that freedom itself is the ultimate form of victory. So what does the Stoic path of quiet revenge look like in practice? 1, you choose peace over chaos. While they spiral in conflict, you invest in stillness. Your calm becomes their torment. 2, you build a life of meaning. Every step forward, every achievement, every moment of joy without them is a reminder of what they lost. 3, you deny them access, not just physically, but mentally. They no longer occupy space in your thoughts. That exile is harsher than any confrontation. 4, you grow in silence. No announcements, no boasting, no need to prove anything. Just quiet progress that speaks louder than any words. And here lies the paradox. The more you detach, the more they obsess. The more you grow, the more they shrink. The more peaceful you become, the more restless they feel. That imbalance is not something you orchestrated. It is something that naturally unfolds when virtue stands beside vice. The Stoic path teaches us that the goal is never revenge itself. The goal is freedom, but freedom has consequences for those who thrived on your captivity. To them, your silence is humiliation. Your absence is punishment. Your happiness is a sentence they cannot escape. So let them watch, let them wonder, let them feel the sting of your quiet revenge every time they realize you are not broken. You are not bitter, and you are not coming back. Because nothing terrifies a manipulator more than the sight of someone they thought they owned walking away, not with anger, but with dignity. That is the Stoic path of quiet revenge. To live better, to live freer, and to let your silence be the victory they never saw coming. Throughout history, power has worn many masks. Some have wielded it through armies and weapons, others through wealth, status, or loud voices that demanded obedience. But there is a kind of power that does not fade with time, does not require force, and cannot be taken away. That power is silence. Silence is eternal because it cannot be countered. Words can be challenged. Diet-twisted actions can be resisted, but silence leaves no room for argument. It stands unshakable and in. When you choose silence, you create a force that no manipulator, no enemy, no betrayer can dismantle. The Stoics understood this profoundly. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Silence is the physical expression of that realization. It is the refusal to give power to outside events. It is the act of saying, I do not need to respond because my peace is not for sale. Why is silence eternal? Because it transcends the moment. When you walk away without a word, your silence doesn't just end the interaction. It lingers. It echoes in the mind of the one who wronged you. It grows louder in the absence of closure. It haunts them long after your footsteps have faded. That echo is timeless, and they cannot escape it. But silence is not only eternal because of how it affects them, it is eternal because of what it does for you. It preserves your dignity. It protects your boundaries. It keeps your inner world untouchable long after the noise of arguments would have been forgotten. Your silence remains as a monument to your discipline. You did not bend, you did not break, you simply chose peace over chaos, and that choice defines you. Psychologists affirm this truth as well. They call it the power of withdrawal, the decision to remove yourself from harmful dynamics instead of engaging in endless battles. Withdrawal is not weakness, it is the highest form of strength because it means you no longer seek validation from the very people who tried to destroy you. And once you no longer seek their approval, you become untouchable. Think of silence like the ocean, calm on the surface but immeasurably deep. Others may throw stones, shout into the wind, or rage against the tide, but the ocean remains unmoved. Your silence like the ocean-kin depth, and that depth terrifies those who live only on the surface of noise and chaos. Here lies the paradox. Silence looks passive, but it is the most active declaration of power you can make by saying nothing. You say everything. You say, I will not play your game. You say, I am beyond your reach. You say, I choose myself. These truths resonate louder than any words could, because they are not just spoken, they are lived. And unlike anger, which burns out, or revenge, which fades once achieved silence, it does not depend on circumstance. It does not expire with time. It is a strategy, a philosophy, and a shield that you can carry for life. That is why silence is eternal power, because it is always within your control, always available, and always devastating to those who underestimated you. The Stoics would remind us that the greatest victory is not over others, but over ourselves, to master your tongue, to restrain your impulses, to walk away. When every part of you wants to fight, that is victory. And that victory cannot be undone. So let them talk. Let them rage. Let them wonder why you never explained, never shouted, never returned. Your silence has already said it all. And long after their words fade, long after their noise dies, your silence will remain steady, powerful, eternal. So now you see, silence was never weakness. It was never surrender. It was always power. When you chose to walk away quietly, you didn't just end their control, you destroyed their illusion. You left them in the prison of their own regret. While you stepped into the freedom of self-mastery, the Stoics have been whispering this truth for centuries. Strength is not proven in noise, but in restraint. Dignity is not found in endless battles, but in the calm decision to rise above them. And real revenge is not destroying your enemy, but building a life so peaceful, so unshakable, that their memory no longer matters. Your silence is your shield, your peace is your weapon, and your quiet exit is the loudest declaration you will ever make. I am untouchable. I am free. I am whole. If this message spoke to you, if you've ever walked away from those who tried to break you, or if you're ready to claim the power of silence in your own life, remember you are not alone here in this space. We walk the Stoic path together. Subscribe to Think Stoic Antifragile and join this journey of emotional intelligence, psychological boundaries, inner peace, and high-performance mindset. Because this is not just about philosophy. This is about becoming unshakable in a world that thrives on noise. And when this video ends, don't stop here. Watch the next lesson waiting for you. Because the moment you master silence, you'll discover there are even deeper ways to protect your peace, strengthen your spirit, and command respect without ever raising your voice. Your silence is eternal power. Own it, live it,